Hello, and welcome to our second array question in AP Computer Science. Please pause the video now, take a moment to study this. Begin again when you're ready. So, in this question, we have to deal with the concept of arrays, and not just single dimension arrays, but 2D arrays, two dimensions. And the idea here is also, the new idea rather, that we can store objects inside of arrays. So let's just have a quick review first. The elements of an array, well, the new information rather first. The elements of an array can store object references, not just primitive data types. So this declaration reserves space to store 25 references to string objects. So string, array, the array list is going to be called words, and we call the constructor and create a array of 25 elements in this words array, and they're all going to be strings. Now keep in mind, this does not create the string objects themselves. We're going to have to, each object is going to be stored in the array, must be instantiated separately. So a one-dimensional array stores a list of elements. This is the one we used in our last question. So num sub 0, num sub 1, num sub 2, 3, and 4, and they held some values, the elements of this array. Nums is a one-dimensional array, and we did add one extra idea, and that is one function we have. Nums.length represents the number of elements in the array. So in this case, this is going to be equal to 5 because our array has a length of 5. Now, a two-dimensional array can be thought of as a table of elements. It's really not that much more complicated. It has rows and columns. So these are our columns, okay, and these are our rows, and we number them the same way: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 0, 1, and 2. Everything's just fine. So this is going to be an array. This array is going to be called M. It's going to be a two-dimensional array. It's going to be filled with strings. It's going to have 6 rows and 3 columns, and hopefully now you begin to spot where the difference lies. In math class, we always go x and y, and then x first along the x-axis and then up and down the y-axis. This is going to be a little bit different. Let's take this element right here. If I wanted to reference this or call it or change it or whatever, I'd refer to element 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1. This would be 3, 1. So we're going up and down first and then across. One more time. In math class, I know it's back and forth and then up and down. Here it's going to be down first and then across. So M is going to be a two-dimensional array. A couple of terms that come up in this Regents question, in this AP question, I'm going to go over in a minute. M.length. Now we're still talking about the length of a two-dimensional array, but M.length is going to represent the number of rows. So in other words, we're just going to look here. And how many rows do we have? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the answer here is going to be 5. M.length here in this question, this particular problem, is going to be 5. As opposed to, okay, so in this one we're only talking about the first index equaling 0, all the elements whose first index equals 0. What's the length of the first row? Well, the length of the first row is 3, which is also an answer to how many columns we have. So how many rows do we have in this matrix is 5. How many columns do we have? That's equal to 3. I think we have just about all the information we need to answer this. Just a quick sort of review and maybe a little paradigm shift. If we're going to be precise, a two-dimensional array in Java is an array of arrays. And if you think about it, it's an array followed by an array. So the whole thing is just one big long array list of arrays. A two-dimensional array is going to be declared by specifying the size of each dimension separately. So 2 and 12 and 50. So it's going to be filled with integers. This two-dimensional array that's called M, called a constructor. It's going to be filled with integers. 12 rows, 50 columns. A two-dimensional array element is referenced using two index values. Then we're going to have to use two of them, even if it doesn't look like it. Which brings us back to our original question. Let's see if we can answer this now. Alright, so we have a for loop. Okay, no big deal. A for loop, and they're going to talk about K, so I'm kind of used to doing that. You know what, I think I'm going to get ahead of myself a little bit here. Let's see, what would K be? K is going to go from 0 to, let's see, M length. M length. Okay, M is going to be a two-dimensional array. Alright, I'll tell you what I'm going to do for this one. I'm just going to draw myself a quick table just so I can reference this a little bit better. So, let's see if I have enough room and coordination to draw this thing. So, this table is going to talk about, let's see, it's got, no, not quite. Gonna have to add one. There we go. So let me see if I got this right now. Boom. So 6 rows. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Got it. We also have 3 columns. And that's a lovely mess, but I think the point will get across here. Let's see, and we're gonna number those. 0, 1, and 2. Got it. Okay. Let's see if I remember. M length. M length. Oh, that's the number of rows. Okay. So M length in this thing is going to be, in this problem is going to be the number of rows. So 0 through 5 is how we reference them. The indexes are 0 through 5, but we're going to number them. Let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is just going to be 6. So I could just erase that and put a 6. So K is going to start at 0 and then go to 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 5 and then, oh no, wait. K is less than 6, so it's going to stop there at 5. So it's going to go through this loop 5 times. Okay. Let's see. All the elements whose first index is 0, so this is 0, 0 here, this is 0, 1 here, this is 0, 2 here. So basically we're talking about these guys. So what's the length of this row? In other words, how many columns do we have? Well, this is going to be equal to 3. And so 3 minus 1 is going to get me 2. So while I'm going through this loop, this is going to, let's see, it's going to be M 0, 2, 0, 2, and 0, or rather 1, 2, and then 2, 2, 3, 2, 3, 0, 2, 0, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 4, 2, 5. It's going to be these guys right here. It's going to run through and reference each one of these cells, these elements in this two-dimensional array, and what is it going to do? It's going to put this character in each one of those. All the elements in the first row? Nope. All the elements in the last row? Last row? See, they're looking for somebody to get confused with columns and rows. Now, the last row would be this. The last row would be here. The last column, filled with stars, that's looking good right now. This code has no effect. No, I don't see any errors in it. And out of index, that means if the number got large, somehow we called an element in this array that didn't exist, but I don't think we ever did. I believe the answer to this particular question is C. And here endeth the lesson.